What's way more dangerous than most people think? Driving tired, sleepy. Bites from other human beings are actually really dangerous due to infection rates. People know that rip currents are dangerous, but don't think about them as a real threat often enough. Towing a stuck car with a chain. There is a list of people who have died from having the chain come through the back window and kill them. Listening to loud music using earbuds. Or really any headphones. Having permanent hearing damage sucks. Attempting to change garage door springs without knowing what you're doing can kill you. Moose. Bigger threat to people up here than bears. Edit. Clarification by, up here, I mean Canada. Another clarification: we have a lot of moose and not a lot of grizzly bears. The more common bears, black bears, while still shouldn't be provoked, are a lot smaller and more timid than grizzlies. Not to mention everyone knows to be afraid of bears. They're large carnivores. Most people don't know to be afraid of moose. Hitting a moose with your car is pretty well a guaranteed fatality, but it's also highly underestimated how dangerous these things can be on their own. They can be around the same height as a transport truck and have a nasty temper if you decide to bug one. Being knocked unconscious. Lots of popular media makes it seem like a minor thing that an average person can shrug off after a short period. In reality, if you are ever knocked out, then you have suffered brain damage. It's possible there might not be any lasting effects. But it's a serious injury and you 100% need to see a doctor if it ever happens to you. Doing nothing for a long period of time. It gets addictive and it's the hardest thing ever to get back on your feet. Eating a lot of spinach. Believe it or not, people have had kidney failure from 3 spinach smoothies in a day. This is due to the high levels of oxalic acid. Blocking your nose when you sneeze. Though it's rare, you can damage blood vessels in your eyes and nose. You can rupture your eardrum. And you can even have an aneurysm. A kind of random one. But don't eat uncooked slugs or snails. They can have parasites that will make you paralyzed and eventually kill you. An Australian kid died a couple of years ago from it. An awful way to go. Driving. Like, you see the statistics of car crash deaths, but I don't think you ever truly realize how dangerous it is to simply drive somewhere since it is such a routine thing. Not wearing sunblock. Living alone. If you get seriously injured or ill at home and you're unable to reach a phone, your chances of survival are much lower than if you have at least one other person in the household. Anything under tension can be dangerous. Guitar strings hold around 200 pounds of tension. A game of tug-of-war can put thousands of pounds of tension into a rope. It's even been known to kill people. Here's a list. Misinformation. Deep cuts on your fingertips. They're called felons and can infect your bloodstream. Clean them out, and if you see a red line traveling up your arm, get yourself to the ER immediately. My neighbor almost died from this when she cut her finger on her violin string. Edit. Removed my advice about changing tires. My main point was don't go under your car if the tire's off without a jackstand. But that should be obvious. Palm trees. They are so much heavier than they look and their branches can kinda just fall off without warning. Hiking in Arizona heat. Walking downstairs with your hands in your pockets. Never ever do it. Especially not drunk. A fall down even 1 or 2 stairs with no hands to catch you can break your neck. I've seen a video of a man tripping and falling down 4 stairs. Hitting the top of his head on the wall and dying right there in the stairwell. Newts. Many newts, such as the rough-skinned newt, produce a toxin that is 10 times more potent than cyanide. They are only dangerous if you handle them and then don't wash your hands afterwards. Or if you eat the newt. There have been multiple reports over the years of someone eating a newt as part of a hazing ritual for a college fraternity. And then dying. The toxin that some newts produce can kill you inside of 15 minutes because the toxins block the sodium receptors in your nerves, essentially stopping your brain from communicating with your heart. Scary stuff. TLDR. If you handle a newt, wash your hands. And never put a newt in your mouth or you will die. Edit. Did not think this would blow up this much. Thank you to the Redditors that provided so much information about tetrodotoxin. To see it in action, check out this video from Nat Geo. A lot of household chemicals. Mix the wrong stuff and it's game over. Are seriously hurt. Cat bites. Texting while driving. Put your fucking phone away, you fuck. BBQing indoors. Edit. I'd like to expand to running generators indoors. 2. Blunt kitchen knives. It may seem obvious, but they're more dangerous than sharp kitchen knives. Holding a sneeze in. There have been cases of ruptured brain aneurysms and throats, as well as collapsed lungs. No recorded deaths though, according to the good old Google. Edit. Thank you for the cake day, wishes you wonderful people. Edit 2. Grammar. Hiking in the woods with earpieces in. Even in a suburban area. It seems innocent enough. But not being fully aware of your environment can lead you to not notice snakes or coyotes. Living beyond your means. Always having to leverage assets and become financially overextended in order to have things here and now. Mosquitoes. Rescuing a drowning person. Drowning people are completely panicked, with one goal, which is to get to air immediately. And they will climb on top of people in their blind panic and fear with little to no thought as long as they can keep their head above water. There have been stories of young children drowning their older siblings and parents as the kid climb on top of their parents' heads and submerge them underwater. Rescuing a drowning person is no joke, and if you yourself a poor swimmer and or not trained in water rescue, do not attempt rescue. Your safety is top priority. Instead, immediately call emergency services and try to either extend something out for the person to grab onto, like a pool noodle, pool net, pole, branch, etc., or throw something that floats at the person for them to grab onto. A life jacket, PFD, is the best. But pool noodle, kickboard, floaty, open cooler, esky lids work. If you are trained in water rescue, then you should already know that if you don't need to get into the water. The don't. Remember: call, reach, extend, throw, row, swim. In that order. And always assess the conditions of the water before going in if you do. If the water is too murky, the current is too strong, there is too many water hazards like logs or rocks. Again, don't attempt rescue. It sounds horrific to think about. But always thinum of numero uno, and rescue teams would much rather only rescue one person than two people. If you do decide to jump into attempt rescue, then you should always tske something that floats with you so you can hand it off to the drownee before they grab onto you. Edit to add. I have already put this in another comment. But end scene as some people may nave skipped because they are commenting about how to punch someone in the face to mock them out. No. Hitting someone until they are knocked out may once have been a legit mate technique taught to those tranking to be lifeguards. It is no longer taught. Has not been for years now. And is actively discouraged. If there is anyone out there that thinks they can attempt in water rescue, here is what you do. Copied and pasted from my other comments. Greater than this story actually raises a good point. How do you approach a drowning person? Greater than I have heard from too many people. Degree O. I have been told to knock them out. Like slap them or hit them. While your husband did what he had to do to rescue his friend. This idea that you need to knock a drowning person out is incredibly outdated. Not to mention highly unsafe, not just for the drowning person but yourself as well. Greater than: first off, if you are close enough to hit a drowning person, you're close enough to be grabbed by them. Remember, a drowning person will latch onto anything that even appears to be floating to keep their head above water. That includes a person trying to rescue them. Remember, a drowning person is not thinking clearly. They are panicked and struggling for air. They will grab you and potentially pull you under to achieve a fresh gulp of air. Greater than: as mentioned in my op, if you are going to save someone from drowning, you should ideally bring something that floats with you. But really, it could be anything that the drownee can hold onto. Maybe don't bring a heavy bleed anchor or dumbbell with you though. I got taught even a t-shirt or shoe can sometimes suffice. Anything to create a barrier between you and the drownee. As you approach the drownee, position your body so you are sorta upright, with one hand holding the floating up extended towards the drownee. Shouting out, "Grab the float. I can help. Grab the float." Hopefully the drownee does grab the float. But if they so happen to go to grab you or your arm, instead immediately go onto your back, feet towards the drownee and kick hard away. You may have to repeat this process a number of times, even when the drownee tires themselves out. Greater than: what happens if the victim does grab you and starts to pull you under? Suck, tuck, and exhale down. Bring them down underwater with you. Sound like the opposite of what you should do? Remember the drowning person's goal, to get air. They can't do that underwater, so if you are taking them with you they're going to let of you. Kick away again. Greater than ideally if you can try to get behind them. They can't grab you from behind. In one forceful motion tuck your arms under their shoulders, armpits. Raise your hips up and lock your knees around their hips. Tylenol. About 500 people die in the US every year from overdose. Edit. The same as paracetamol. Acetaminophen. Ofirmev. Mapap. Feverol. Farbatol. Glade plug-ins. My childhood friend's house burned down because of one of them. Also, a plug-in battery charger burned down a customer's garage. Not getting enough sleep. Not getting regular checkups. I almost died because I had an internal hemorrhage that was slowly killing me. I was so depleted of iron and blood that the nurses thought my vitals were written in wrong because I should have been dead. I needed 3 pints of blood in one sitting. Breaking up with someone even when there was no domestic violence in their relationship. My daughter was killed by her ex-boyfriend for breaking up with him. There are many men and women killed for this same reason. Coconuts. Coconuts kill 300 times more people a year than sharks, since only 16 attacks occur per year and 1 death every 2 years, while coconuts kill 150 a year, from falling from trees. Hippos kill more people than lions do. One that springs to mind for me is flushing your sinuses, i.e., putting water up your nose. If done with straight tap water, brain-eating amoeba can kill you. Not taking antibiotics to kill a sinus infection. Kinda seems obvious, but 13Y, me didn't think so, and that's how I ended up almost dead. Water currents. Rip tides in the ocean and eddy currents in streams. We have some river canyons with signs describing all of the ways you can die in the river, and people still die swimming there. Roosters are dicks. Make sure you're on their good side. Mine has bitten and scratched me more times than I can count. Mold. It can be poisonous. Make you hallucinate, and eating it can seriously mess with your body. Wild animals. Most people know that they're dangerous. But they don't think about how dangerous they are. An example of this would be something small like a rat. They carry diseases and can destroy stuff if not taken care of. Having unprotected sex. Fucking with any animal. A squirrel can and will fuck you up. Edit. You furries are fucked. The ocean. Both for swimming, surfing, etc. and for boating. It is 100% not just a big swimming pool or lake. Human beings are in a completely alien environment as soon as they step off the sand or dock. And our perceptions about how things ought to play out no longer matter. The ocean is completely indifferent to human reasoning and even to human mortality. I'm teaching a good friend to sail right now. And he's naively ambitious as far as sailing long distances in a very small boat. I wasn't joking at all when I chided him by saying, "You haven't been scared enough times yet." The reason I'm so conservative in and around the ocean is because I've developed a healthy, totally reasonable fear of it over the course of my life. Anybody who isn't a little afraid of the ocean hasn't spent enough time around it. Source. Tug captain, lifelong surfer, and lifelong recreational sailor. Please. If you're going out on a boat, make sure you at least have a first aid kit, a fire extinguisher, a working knowledge of how to call for help on a VHF radio, an anchor to stop you from drifting into rocks if the engine fails, and PFDs for everyone. Situations you've never even imagined can arise so quickly on even a short outing. Blowing into an orifice, butthole, vagina, etc. can cause an air embolism. The phrase, "we've always done it this way." Eating raw cashews. Low self-esteem. Reddit mods who manipulate information. Crossing train tracks when a train is coming. People do it every day. So clearly don't realize how dangerous it is. Until they are hit by the train and are killed. This is one of those things you wouldn't expect on this list. But if people realized how dangerous it actually was, people wouldn't tempt their fate each day to save a few minutes. Not going to the doctor when something is wrong. You aren't macho for not going. It doesn't make you more of a man. It makes you an idiot. If you live in America and don't have insurance, I am not talking about you. We all know these people though. I'm not going to no damn doctor. I'm fine. I knew guy who hadn't been to the doctor in 30 years. 30 years. Always bragged about it. Never sick. Blah blah blah. One day he goes to the doctor because he loses a shit ton of weight for no reason in the span of a month. Turns out he has so much cancer in his fucking body that he's a walking miracle. Stomach, colon, lung, and it was in his lymph node. Doctors gave him a prognosis of like 4 months with aggressive treatment. He forgoes the treatment and died in a month. Go to the fucking doctor. Your best chance against cancer is early detection. Hell, that's with everything. If you wait too long, it might be too late to do anything. Drinking alcohol. Not even getting drunk. I have cirrhosis mostly because I love beer, whiskey, and food. I now have incredible pain, anxiety, and have to take meds that are awful. The only fix is a transplant. The catch is, you have to be almost dying to get a chance at one. Enjoy. Not every day. Not too much. Avoid the binge. Good people. Power washers. Trying to repair power supplies or old CRT TVs. Monitors. If you know what you're doing, you might not die. If you don't get your affairs in order. These devices, even unplugged, can release enough electricity to kill you instantly. When I was learning computer repair, my instructor called them widowmakers, and to avoid repair of them. Almost everything that today we get to take for granted is routine. Infections. Easily treated, right? Not with antibiotic-resistant bacteria and/or new viruses. Anesthesiology and painkillers. Incredible. But with fatal consequences if mishandled. Driving. Look up stats or talk to the paramedics and other first responders with stories. Trades jobs. If you aren't trained in that particular trade, up on all the required safety protocols, or in a situation where the company isn't as stringent as they could be, lots of people get hurt or worse. It is one of several reasons we have a day of remembrance for workers killed on the job. Childbirth. Modern medicine helps a lot. But there is a reason some cultures considered it like going into battle. Household repairs and cleaning supplies. I seem to remember that ladders, stairs, etc. resulted in a lot of accidents. Many children get poisoned from unsecured cleaners, adult safety and childproofing a home. As others have said, things under tension or heavy things that can drop from a height. One of the reasons logging is so dangerous. Food safety. Our food usually has been kept safe throughout its journey to us. But we find out from food recalls how quickly hundreds or thousands can get sick when regulations aren't followed. War. Not that we think it is in any way safe. But likely many of us on Reddit haven't had direct experience with just how horrible it can be. That is why videos and documentaries are still so captivating on the subject. Because the danger was more extreme than we often grasped at first. Currently relevant. Disruptions to farms. If farms don't get planted, watered, weeded, harvested on time, eventually, someone may not get to eat. Basically, we have tried over time to reduce the everyday things that are dangerous to us. With more or less success. And sometimes, with unintended side effects. Like the big one. Carbon emissions equals more dangerous than most people think. Edit. I remembered confined spaces. With little air exchange and low oxygen. They can suffocate a whole series of people who go into them. One after another. Victim and rescuer, if they don't have the correct PPE. Oh. And rotating machinery can seriously mess you up. Roadworks. Y'all fuckers gotta stop speeding past my elaborate road cone setup because a hard hat and orange vest will not save me if you go amiss. Hypothermia. If your clothes get soaked and you can't dry out and warm up. Temps in the 50s F, approximately 13 C, can kill you. This is how people going on day hikes get killed. Something happens and they can't get back to their car, lodge. The weather changes and they can't find shelter and they get wet. They die of exposure. My scoutmaster taught us boys the hard way by teaching us the importance of planning. He made us traverse a stream. And while our packs didn't get wet because we were carrying them above our heads, we did get soaked up to about our chest in cool water. The temperature was around 55 F that day. Which is not that cold and kinda nice. After we got to the other side, you would not believe how quickly we got cold. Especially if there is no cover from the wind. And within a few minutes, our hands became useless and we couldn't start a fire. The shivering got so bad. It was incapacitating. The cold set in fast. We learned that day that we needed to make sure our clothes remained dry. Even if that means stripping down butt naked to cross the stream. And that we needed to have fire already made and a smoldering ember ready to go along with tinder so that we could get a fire going quickly. That is if we didn't have matches or a fire steel. So he taught us that we should cross the stream. Put our dry clothes back on. Start a fire to warm up and dry out. And immediately start working on shelter. Hard lessons don't leave you. Even after 30 years. Edit. For clarity. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like. If you would like to see more content like this in the future, subscribe and turn on notifications to be notified about future videos. Now check out one of these interesting videos.